Hey there, Internet! I'm Eric.
And I think it's early, but that's okay. Because
And,
no, we're right on time.
and you're listening to Just Cool Enough, and of course we're right on time because I keep track of things. Unlike Joe, I'm not like, nah, let's start the pre-show 3 hours early. Nah, nah, nah. And it's 4:27. I still haven't started the show. Nah, nah, nah.
I think that's a pretty spot on, uh, you know, thing of Joe.
Thank you.
Whatever it is. Imitation.
I've been working with my dialect coach for a couple of months now to sort of round it out and get the subtle nuances of Joe's voice. Meh, meh, meh. So I think...
You perfected it.
Yeah. I think we don't even need him back at this point. I'll just go... You see? And listeners probably think I'm just playing clips right now. If you're not watching the video, you think I just got like a sound machine that's making perfect Joe noises.
Is there such thing as a perfect Joe noise?
Probably, but
we can't go into that on the radio.
no. Anyways, hey guys, thank you for showing up. It's episode 260. Some of you have stuck around. Most of you haven't, but thank you to the handful of you that still watch this for some reason.
We know we stuck around for some stupid horseshit reason.
Yeah, well, I got nothing better to do. Literally, like, every day, I'm like, hey, we can do stuff on Wednesday to people. I'm like, hey, we can shoot that thing on Wednesday. Why don't we move our sketch show to Wednesday? Why don't we do board game? Like, I'm trying to find reasons.
Oh my God, do something on Wednesday.
Yeah, I want to stop doing this show and be like, guys, I can't. I've got this just really important commitment now, but nobody wants to do anything at Wednesday.
It's because everything good happens on Wednesday. It's hump day.
Yeah. And also, they're all having sex while we aren't. So that's why. Like, no, Wednesday's the day we have sex with our significant others. I'm like, oh, that must be cool. And they're like, yeah, it is.
Hump day is not just a clever name, is what you're saying.
Yeah. I'm saying that Wednesdays are the days everyone has sex, I assume. I don't know. They're doing it without me. I wouldn't know.
Secret club that you're not invited to.
Yeah. Like so many of I'm not invited to so many things, so I just kind of go with the flow. So last week was Thanksgiving. Did you do anything for Thanksgiving?
I went and had food with my girlfriend's family.
I went to House of Pie with my mom and a friend of my sister who, not my sister because she's in New York.
So were you with your sister though, or was it like an awkward outing with your friend's sister, you and your mom, and no sister?
It wasn't awkward. I mean, my sister wasn't there, and it was a friend. But like, it's not like I don't know the person, or when my sister was here, she was around all the time, so it wasn't weird or anything. It was just like we went to House of Pie. I got a Monte Cristo and some pumpkin cheesecake because they didn't have pumpkin pie, or at least she said we might not have it. You should probably go with a pumpkin cheesecake, which is good, but, I wanted pumpkin pie. So the next day I bought a pumpkin pie and then ate the whole goddamn thing.
To make up for the lack of it from the day before?
Yeah. And then today I got a mini pumpkin pie from Gelson's. They're about, like, the size of your hand, like that big, maybe a little smaller. I just kind of, I was gonna save because I had two, and I was gonna save one, and I was gonna go, hello internet, blah blah blah, and I'm gonna eat this whole pie. But then I just ate it, like that was like an hour ago, and I was like, I can't wait to eat this pie. Like what am I, Gandhi?
I think the logic would have been, I'm going to eat this now as a test run to see if I can do it later, and if I happen to go to the store between now and the show, I know I can do it.
No, I mean, I didn't. I was like, I had two of them, and I ate one immediately. And I was like, I'll save one for the show. But then I was like, but I want to eat it now. So that's what I'm dealing with.
I know Joe and I have our struggle with weight loss here and up and down and whatnot. And I know that you attained your goal some like 2 or 3 years ago. But I don't understand when you're.
I never attained my goal. I've never been at my goal weight. But you look
skinnier than you were when we started.
I've lost way more. I've lost a shit ton of weight. it's still not enough for me. Like I still think of myself as this huge fatty who nobody will ever love. Like it's a mental problem. I know this because I should be incredibly happy with my progress and the fact that for the most part
I'm jealous
like
of your progress. If that
like
helps you feel any better.
I lost it, and it's been like 5 years maybe, and I've basically maintained weight. I'll occasionally get a stint where I've like I like put, like over last winter I put on like 15 pounds and then kept it for like the almost half a year, and I was just like, oh no, and like but it wasn't really terrible, and then I've since sort of finally started to lose all that weight. And now I'm hoping I'm gonna start losing more, but like I'm constantly just like ugh, you get out of the shower and you're like, fuck, no wonder nobody will ever love me. Look how fat I am. It's a mental thing. Like I'm never happy with it, and everyone's always like, you're not fat. And I'm like, shut up, stop lying to me. You're just trying to get my hopes up so you could just like
dash it all.
Yeah, they're like, Eric, you're serious? Like, no, you don't look fat at all. I'm like, really? Thanks. And then they slap me in the face and be like, fooled you, dumbass, fat piece of shit.
So how tall are you?
6'1".
And how much do you weigh?
I haven't weighed myself in a couple of weeks, but I would say somewhere around 205, probably.
I weigh 232, and I'm 6 feet.
Yeah, I've been there. I weighed over 300 pounds at 6'1". So
never have I passed 252 pounds, but still, I'm like, you look nice. You look like you're thin, or like I'm trying to figure out how you lose this weight though, since I know that you sit at home a lot. I know you do sketch comedy, and that involves a lot of movement. But I'd like to think as a teacher, I do at least as much movement, if not more than you do.
I do sketch comedy, which means I do a show every 2 weeks, which I maybe do one sketch and do a little bit of hosting. But the show in its entirety, including the 3 to 4 minute sketch I'm a part of, is an hour. And we meet once a week for writing, for our writers' meeting, which involves me sitting at my laptop at somebody else's house for a change. So like you do so much more active things than I do. It's not.
My diet must be a lot worse than yours. I mean, but you're telling me you're eating 2 pies at a time just because you can, and
well, because I don't go crazy all the time. Like I just can't buy foods anymore that I like. I just have to stop buying food because I eat it because I have no self-control. That's what I learned.
That's my problem.
Yeah, I just don't like it was easy at first because it was like stop drinking 8 sodas a day. Okay, yeah, that was the start of it. And then like I switched to diet, so it was fine, and that helped me a lot. And then it was like when you're bored or there's a commercial during the TV, don't make a giant sandwich as a snack. Oh, okay, yeah, maybe just a glass of water or something. Don't. Your snacks are basically meals at this point. Don't do that. Okay, so then it's like maybe not have control what your lunch is, which is why I usually go with most of my lunch. I mean I changed it up for a while. That was like just the one thing I had for lunch all the time. I changed it up now, but I'm very careful about like how what the calories are in what I'm about to eat, and not just per serving. Like actual like this thing I'm about to fucking consume, is it 1,000 calories? Then maybe I shouldn't buy these anymore. I love ice cream. Don't buy it. I love especially those like frozen Snicker bars that are filled with ice cream. I can't buy those anymore because I will eat them. Bread. I fucking love bread. I just can't. I can't have bread anymore. Like we used to buy. Like I remember we'd go to Walmart and we'd get like the 2 giant loaves of bread, and they're like filled with so much like fucking yoga mat that they never go bad. But they never got a chance to go bad because I would eat them all in a couple of days. I would just like cut off a giant chunk, put a few slices of cheese in there every couple of every hour or so. It's just I can't eat anymore. I have to just stop eating so goddamn much and stop buying foods I really like.
And that to me is the big thing. So, I mean, right now I've started going back to eating everything I can find, but if it's not in the house. But a lot of people are like, oh, I don't understand how people lose weight. I'm like, just like you said, just stop eating so much goddamn food. That would be a start.
Yeah, I mean, there's other stuff, and like, I mean, when I dropped to about 260, 250, I started riding my bike a lot, and I was a little bit more active. I took cardio, kickboxing, and weight training and stuff like
I
that.
remember that.
But what I found is when I do a lot of exercise, I go, well, I exercise, so I can reward myself by overeating. So I completely negate it. So if I was
Normally, I'd
eating,
only be able to have 500 calories, but because I worked out, that gave me 300 more, so I can eat 800 calories instead of using it as a deficit.
yeah,
You just increase the amount you eat.
because that's how my fucking brain works. If I could work out and only eat the amount of food that I eat right now, I would be in fantastic shape. But I'm too lazy to work out, and when I do work out, I overeat, and that's just my own mental horse shit that's going on in my head.
So therefore, don't work out so that you don't overeat.
I mean, I wish I could. I'm lazy because there are a couple of gyms within walking distance I could probably go to, and I'm always like concerned. It's like, hey mom, can I get a gym membership? She's like, you would never go. You know how I know that? Because we had a gym membership, and you only went because I went for yoga classes, and I was like, well, this time's going to be different. She's like, no, it's not. I was like, yeah, you're right. It's not going to be different because I just can't. I don't know. I mean, maybe if I could get better at that, and that's something I would love to do, work out and stuff. But also, I know I still eat too much, more than I need to. I do the cheat day thing. Like every once in a while, it's fine. Like maybe every once a week or every other week or something, you have a day where you just fucking binge on something, but not terrible. But like
I've been trying a cheat month and a half. I found that's a long time though.
No, see, you can't do that. You gotta. I mean, it's okay to indulge every now and again, because it's just fucking. It keeps you sane. You're like, because if I couldn't just like if once a month or whatever when we order pizza, if I couldn't just fucking go to town on that pizza and then feel terrible about it the next day, I don't know what I would do. It would be fucking awful. But yeah, it's funny because I forget that I've been at basically this weight for so long that I have really good friends who don't even know me as the guy I was before I lost all the weight. Like I remember my sketch team, like I was like, yeah, I would tell them like I used to be fat, and then they saw my old driver's license, which I don't know where I keep that, where it was when I was 16 and I was about 250, and they were like, oh wow, you really were fat. And I was like, oh, this is nothing. This is when I was 16. I lost all this weight and then gained it back with event, and I'll show them like my Facebook page of BlizzCon '07, BlizzCon '08, and thankfully from '07 was the worst, and then I was like, because I've said this before. I walked into BlizzCon going, well, I'm fat, but I'm not the fat one. And I was like, oh God, I'm the fat one. So then I lost like 50 pounds between those two BlizzCons, and then I was still like, oh, I'm still super fat, and I like lost it. But yeah, there are people who just don't see me as that guy, which is interesting, because I still see it every day.
Because probably you saw it for so long that you're just
yeah. Well, yeah, it's weird, like, because I remember being a kid and not realizing that I was fat. I was skinny throughout most of elementary school, and I don't know when I started to get fat, but I didn't realize it until like junior high. I was fat, and then it was going back, and then into high school, I knew I was fat, but then I lost all the weight in high school through a combination of growing 6 inches in height, and also both my parents and my sister going on Weight Watchers, so there was no more food in the house, hence the just stop buying food and you'll lose weight. And I lost all the weight, and then I had no idea how fat I really was, and I was like, well, I'm skinny now, I don't have to try. And then, of course, after high school, I gained it all back with a vengeance. And so it's just been this weird roller coaster.
So are you saying that the people you went to school with when you were in elementary school and middle school, they were very nice? Nobody reminded you, or
no? It wasn't until junior high that I remember being this one like dickhole in junior high used to just call me bitch tits. We were both in band together. Like we both played the trumpet. I thought we would be like total bros, but he just started calling me bitch tits one day. And I had no idea.
And this is
what?
Eric.
Yeah.
Eric had bitch tits.
Yeah. So.
Did he cry into your chest? And did you guys feel better afterwards?
No. We did get
No.
into a fight once.
Oh.
Because he was just a little shit most of the time. I don't know why. Like, it's not like he was like skinny McHandsome dude. He was like, he I don't understand why he was picking on me. I thought we would be like total. It'd be Bro Down 2000, and then it'd be Bro Down 1996 or something going on between us. But no, it's not. He's fucking. He turned out to be a huge asshole for some reason.
That's because you were better looking than he was, and he was upset about that.
See, that was the funny thing. Like, I didn't like I thought like because certain people like Joe's a big guy, but he doesn't look ugly. Like, I look super fucking ugly fat. Like, it just goes. My face gets
so
all.
What's your excuse now?
Yeah, I know. I look like my face got stung by bees. Like, it's just like all puffy and stupid. Yeah, I just don't.
For those of you who don't watch the show but listen to the podcast, it's true. Bees, puffiness.
Yeah, you can. I could probably find. It's on my Facebook account. I've gone back and forth about like hiding that photo and shit like that. But I was like, fuck it. That's what I used to be.
Man, if she's not gonna love you for who you were and who you are, then she's not worth it.
Yeah. Yeah, she's like, trust me, no woman's gonna see that photo and be like, never mind. There were already a lot of warning signs. She already walked out the door long before that photo turned her away from me.
Did you hear? I don't know if you own any Cards Against Humanity. I picked it up for my birthday recently, but they were selling. Cards Against Humanity was selling the box of bullshit.
Yeah.
You could buy it on Black Friday. And
yeah, I do. Because a friend of the show, the Eric, spelled with a K, spelled wrong.
Did he buy some?
He has he didn't buy bullshit, but they talked about it. But he bought he has the full collection of cards in the giant like 4-foot long box called the bigger blacker box. Because he has like every card, and he contemplated getting that, but he didn't. Because it was their big their joke for Black Friday was they stopped selling all versions of Cards Against Humanity, all of its expansions, everything, and instead were selling a box of what they called bullshit, which apparently they were just selling feces to people.
It was actually a box of bullshit.
Yeah, so they say. I don't know anyone who ordered it, who looked for it, or whatever. I imagine there would probably be a card hidden inside because they do that. Like the thing you got, the bigger blacker box, only came with like one expansion in it, but it had enough room for like every one of the cards. But there was like a secret compartment he had to cut open to get a secret card, and they do that kind of stuff a lot. So.
From what I've read, nobody's found any card, but they did sell out all 30,000 boxes of it.
Hmm. Well, apparently it's not. I don't believe it is illegal to sell.
It's not.
Yeah, because there are plenty of websites where you can like send shit to people or buy shit
as a joke. Apparently, like it's frowned upon, but you can definitely buy and sell PCs online.
Who'd have thought? Strange times, Obama. So that's. I think so. What are some of the topics? I've got stuff I wanted to talk about, but you sounded like you had things that you wanted to bring up on the show.
That was the first one. Was just that I found it hilarious that people are actually buying bullshit and then complaining about it. And there was a Twitter, I forget who put it out there, but I read it on one of the things that was like, if you buy a box of bullshit and they claim it's a box of bullshit, and then you complain when it shows up that they sold you bullshit. That's a $6 life lesson right there.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't buy it because I don't own the cards, and Eric's the guy who collects that, and he didn't buy it. I think in part because he didn't want a box of bullshit showing up to his apartment, and his fiance to be like, why is there a box of fecal matter showing up at our doorstep? So.
I was gonna buy you a wedding ring, but this seemed more appropriate, so I could afford. And the other one was just the here in the States, of course, for people that don't know, the whole Michael Brown thing going down. I know people in China know about it because it showed up on the news, but it made me laugh a little bit. And today, because there's a guy in New York, there's a police officer in New York who tried to take down this rather large man. There's actually 3 officers involved at least. Large man by putting him in a chokehold, which they're not supposed to do in the New York Police Department. It's banned and prohibited, against the law, if you will. But they put this large man in a chokehold, and you can clearly see on the cell phone footage that he rides this guy to the ground in a chokehold. You can hear the guy on the ground complaining that he can't breathe while in the chokehold. And unfortunately, the man ended up dying because he was put in a chokehold. And the coroner even said, man died from homicide because he was put in a chokehold. And the grand jury today decided that he was found, that the officer putting him in the chokehold was found not guilty for putting him in that.
See, here's the thing. Both him and the officer involved in the Mike Brown thing were not found innocent or not guilty. The grand juries decided there was no reason to even try them, to even hold a trial. That's the thing. It's not that they had a trial and were found innocent. It's that they were told there's not even enough here to even warrant having a trial.
Now, people are going to go, I'm sure we'll get emails about this, so I'll put it, with the Michael Brown thing, it's all, for me, that was all kind of like he said, she said. There was no footage of it. It was a lot of mystery. But this particular one of the guy in New York, there is a cell phone video
of a cop strangling a man to death. And the grand jury decided, no, I don't see any reason why this would warrant us pursuing any legal action against him.
Not only that, the New York Police Department actually said he didn't, in fact, put him in a chokehold. Like, there might be a video showing him putting him in a chokehold, but clearly he's not actually putting him in a chokehold. It's not really a chokehold. It might look like it, but it's not. Not a chokehold. And he might have died from injury sustained in something that looked like a chokehold, but that it should have been, but it wasn't. It wasn't a chokehold.
I think he did it to himself. Clearly, he
was holding himself by the neck.
Yeah, no. When the officers weren't looking, he started squeezing his own neck till he died. You know, that's. So these are topics I didn't want to bring up on the show because they're depressing and sad. And why the fuck would we want to talk about this?
Funny because they had it's like all this stuff is there. You can't deny that one. But instead, the grand jury did.
Yeah, the grand jury found no reason to even investigate the idea that something bad might have happened. So.
Well, what topics did? Well, and my bullshit story my bullshit thing wasn't totally depressing. I was going to bring that up second but I clearly messed that one up. So what do you have out there? What's on your docket for?
Let's talk about something considerably less destructive to society and just talk about fucking Star Wars. Jesus Christ. I don't want to talk about how fucking inherent racism is in our society and how it's a problem and that we try and ignore that only exacerbates
the issue. They did have a black stormtrooper. I'm just putting that out.
Yeah, let's talk about the Star Wars teaser, I guess. Jesus Christ. Why would we these are the fucking stories. I read this shit I look for fucking stories all the time, and I'm very specific what I choose to talk about, and I don't feel like talking about cops murdering people and getting away absolutely scot-free.
Well, the other reason why I brought that up was I had this revelation this morning that usually when we get emails and Joe is here, usually somebody is putting down Joe for some kind of reason.
Yeah.
They're usually pointing out how you don't have a job or something, and then they're always really nice to me, or they are very passive towards me. They address me, and Ike, whatever. So I figured if I brought up something controversial during a show, they might actually start referring to me by something else. They may like, hey, you fucking racist, or you love cop killers, or whatever. I don't know. So I was trying to give them an ultimatum for addressing me in the emails that it doesn't make me seem like I'm very passive.
Yeah, Joe's the shitty one. I'm the fucking loser who lives with his mom, and you're the hippie race baiter. So yeah.
See, there you go. I mean, I'm trying to capture that Nazi niche that we had talked about when we first tried to open the show 3 years ago.
Yeah. All we need is a social justice warrior, and people will constantly watch our show to tell us that they're not watching our show. And they'll constantly comment on everything we do about how they're not going to talk to us anymore and how they're going to unfollow us. And then we'll get put on that block list that they're putting on Twitter, and then that'll only then people will start following us because they're like, oh, I got to follow these fucking assholes to hear all their garbage. Oh, they're going to say some things about how stuff, and I'm going to be angry, so I better follow them.
There, we've given them a reason now.
Yeah, I'll follow them and then tweet at them that I'm unfollowing them so that they know that I don't like what they're doing. But I'm never actually going to unfollow them because then I won't be able to be mad at what happens. The
So
aristocrats.
what was your less depressing shit that you had about?
The Star Wars trailer.
That's right.
We got a teaser for Star Wars: The Force Awakening. It was 88 seconds long, and I wanted to know what you thought of it. Have you seen it?
I've seen it, and I've seen the special edition George Lucas version of it.
Yeah, I thought that was particularly funny. If you haven't seen it, it's the Star Wars teaser is 88 seconds. It shows almost nothing. It's just a teaser. In my opinion, it does exactly what I want from it. It teased me. It didn't show a lot. But I was like, now I want to know what this is. I want to, I want to know more, which is great. That's exactly what it should have done. It's like, here's a couple of things you recognize in a weird, it's just sort of a montage of disconnected images that are every image looks like Star Wars, but you don't know what any of it means. And you're like, okay, yes. And then somebody took all that. And then George Lucasified it by adding CG stormtroopers everywhere and
pretty much anything from the remade original 3.
There's a shot where like the Millennium Falcon is flying and 2 TIE fighters fly past it. So they added like 15,000 TIE fighters and stuff. Like obviously, because. I rewatched the Star Wars Special Edition, the Star Wars A New Hope Special Edition. That CG is so garbage now. Like all of it looks trash. Like even
I remember looking at it and be like, okay, I can kind of tell it's CG, but like, hey, it's pretty well done.
I mean, even like I remember the shot of like the X-wings flying past the planet always looked odd to me, but now that's like the best looking CG added in there because it's a completely CG shot. But like everything, like all those fucking like stormtroopers on the big beasts, whatever those are called, or like when Han Solo runs around the corner and all those stormtroopers in the background, like every bit of it is atrocious and looks garbage. It's hilarious.
And the thing that got me about the new trailer was people's backlash over it might be a spoiler for people that haven't seen the trailer, not a spoiler for the movie, but there's that lightsaber with the lightsaber hilt.
Yeah, there's 2 things that people are decided to, because they have to be angry about something, so there's 2 things. The first is that there's a black guy wearing most of a stormtrooper outfit except for the helmet, which is ridiculous because all stormtroopers are supposed to be that one. Yeah, they're clones, except they're not. If you know anything about the lore, after the Clone Wars, they let regular people into that. And also, we don't know if he's a fucking stormtrooper or if he's just like stealing a uniform. Like I don't know, fucking Han Solo and just the idea of a black guy in Star Wars that's not Lando Calrissian because there can only be one, I guess. But yeah, so. That was the first. And the second is there's a lightsaber that has like sort of a cross guard made up of a lightsaber. So it like the guy turns on the lightsaber, and it's like a new lightsaber effect, and then 2 tiny little lightsabers on the side. And people are like, I hate everything. My wrist.
Well, I don't know if you've had a chance to see it, but if you do get a chance, go check out Stephen Colbert's take on that lightsaber. He explains it. I'll buy it. He explains it pretty well.
Yeah.
About why it looks the way it does and how it reacts the way or acts the way it does.
Yeah, I get that. And also, lightsabers don't like people are like, oh, if it when the lightsaber slips. Well, if you know anything about fucking lightsabers, they don't slip. Have you ever seen a lightsaber meet and then slip? No, they catch. They always have to pull them away from each other because they don't slip. They're not fucking blades. They're fucking photon beams or whatever, So they catch and they spark,
Mm-hmm.
So that's how that works. The trailer got me excited for the movie because it showed me a couple of things. It showed me a dude that looked like a stormtrooper, and then a lady on a giant thing floating through the desert, and then a weird robot that looked like a soccer ball with a tiny little R2-D2 head on it, and then a couple of dudes in X-wings, and then the Millennium Falcon fighting 2 TIE fighters, and that was it. And then the dude with the weird lightsaber. And that was the entire trailer. That's all they showed, and that's perfect. J.J. Abrams say what you want about his movies. I like a lot of his movies, but he is very adamant about sort of building mystery and building hype for his movies. He's always been a big, like he's done TED Talks about that. The idea of like driving, like he called it, like the mystery box is the thing he coined for it, like just like building this mystery up and not ever showing what it is, like until people get in the seats. You don't want them to know too much. Like he's very big into like marketing his films, which I think is why they do so well, besides the fact that they're usually pretty well made films, except for Star Trek 2 Into Darkness, which was just fan service bullshit for some reason. I don't know why. But yeah, he's really good at sort of building that mystery. I mean, he did that with I really liked, what was that? Not Cloverfield, but the other monster, the one he directed, Super 8. Super 8. Yeah, Super 8. I really like Super 8, and he did that same thing. He never showed the monster, and he built this whole thing. You weren't even sure what it, like. I remember he didn't direct Cloverfield, but he produced it. And the idea, like when those first trailers came out, you didn't even know it was a monster movie. That's how fucking mysterious it was. It was just like people screaming and shaky cameras, and then the fucking Statue of Liberty head landing in the street, even though it was too small.
And I had heard, and so I'm not sure if this is true, that he had shown that trailer to a bunch of people and then said, "What do you think it is?" and then based the movie off of what people's responses were to the trailer. So it kind of made it backwards. I don't know if there's any truth to that. That's what I agreed.
It's possible. He's weird like that. I mean, but he's great at marketing films, and he's made some really awesome. I loved his take on Mission Impossible. I loved his take on the first Star Trek movie. I loved Super 8 a lot. I mean, he does some really good movies, and he's a good director. And assuming that the script is good, which I don't know anything about the script or who's writing it for Star Wars, but assuming that's good, I think everything else, all the people he's picked are great, and he's a good director. So I think it has a really good chance of being a good movie. And the trailer made me, it's like, oh, they're making it's basically, it was just like, oh, it's a Star Wars film. That's all I know about the movie, is that it is clearly a Star Wars film. And I'm like, cool, I like some of those. I like 2.5 of those.
Only 2.5?
Yeah.
What other half didn't you like?
I only give A New Hope half a point because it's a movie that wasn't supposed to be, it like shouldn't be good. Because George Lucas had never had any idea what he was doing. Everybody, like nobody on that crew respected him. He shot a bunch of shit that they had to cut out. The studio made him change a bunch of things, which is why it worked. Because originally, like, it was supposed to be Luke Starkiller, and Han Solo was going to be like half cyborg, and Chewbacca was going to be a weird lizard monster, and it was just all this garbage that he was going to throw in there that they wouldn't let him do, or he didn't have the budget to do, and it was a movie that was saved in editing.
I'm only saying that because you have seen what it is now. I mean, if that's what it had been, do you think it would have been less successful, or do you think people would have said, well, he was originally supposed to put in this giant 6-foot furry monster, but they told me.
I mean, I'm not saying that my opinion of it is tainted with just how terrible he is at making Star Wars movies, clearly, because the next two ones after that were made by other people, which is why they're superior in every way. But it's also like a lot of the story doesn't really make a lot of sense. A lot of things just just a lot of the original movie doesn't quite work, but the things that work so well that you don't care. Like despite the CG garbage, the original like X-wing fight on the Death Star is so good because he was trying to recreate a World War II dogfight, and it just so many parts of it work so well that you kind of forgive all of its mistakes,
which are very inherent in the newer 3.
Yeah, the fact that he has no idea what he was doing from the get-go.
Well, I'm thinking it's going to be promising because I would agree with you that I'm a big fan of Abrams. I think overall I feel like Abrams has had a very successful career, and I don't care what people say. I will definitely go and see it. I'm just hoping. Well, part of me thinks you really can't lower the bar after the last 3. And when I have students who are like, "Oh yeah, I really like those movies," I'm like, "What?"
Because they're kids, and kids don't know any better. Like the original Star Wars is like, I mean, again, they hold up well when you grow up, but if you try and rewatch A New Hope, you start to, and with a more critical eye, you see the problems with it clearly. But you don't care when you're younger. I mean, it's just this great space thing, and all these people and the explosions, and the guys have sword. I mean, the fucking fight between Vader and fucking Alec Guinness, and it's just so pathetic and slow and just doesn't look cool at all, and just but you don't care because it's an emotional thing at that point, you know. But yeah, it's just I watched a lot of terrible things when I was a kid. When I was a kid, I loved the movie Explorers with River Phoenix. That's a stupid movie that falls apart halfway through. You know, there's plenty of things you watch as a kid that you're like, this is great, because you don't care. And maybe that's the better thing. I think I tweeted this once. Maybe things aren't worse. Like, maybe it's not that when you grow up you realize how bad movies were. It's that, you know, when you were a kid you weren't such a cynical prick. Like, maybe kids are right. Maybe those movies. Jaded. Yeah, maybe those movies are good. We're just so jaded and terrible people. Like, life has destroyed us in such that we can't appreciate just. It's a fun movie where guys with lightsabers and robots fight each other and shoot lasers. You know, what's not.
That does sound like every 5-year-old, you know, at least 5-year-old boy, maybe 5-year-old girl's dream, fantasy, if you will. Yeah. Robots, lightsabers, and laser guns. Sign me up.
There's a princess, and she's got a gun, and she calls a guy a nerf herder. It's amazing. I mean, maybe they're right. I've always suspected that maybe just children are better critics than we are. We just think because we're closer to death, we think we're right.
I know I'm right.
Yeah.
I'm never wrong.
Well, they know they're right. They know what they like. And a kid will just sit there and watch something and go, this is boring, and turn it off, or just walk away or fall asleep.
Well, what are you trying to say? Because a lot of my students tell me I'm boring, and they walk away or fall asleep.
I'm telling you, they might have something for you. They might be speaking the truth. It's like, you know, it's like the idea that, like, babies are secretly geniuses, but we just can't understand them because they don't have the capacity to talk. But by the time they can speak, they've lost their genius powers.
We talk them out of being smart.
Yeah.
We teach them how to be stupid.
Well, there's that whole thing about, like, if you ask an adult how many uses can you think of for a paperclip, they can think of maybe 5 or 6. If you ask a child how many uses you can think of a paperclip, they come up with hundreds because they're not limited by their imaginations. They can be like, well, how big can the paperclip be? Does it have to be made out of metal? Could it be made out of styrofoam? Like, they can just go off in such, you know, amazing directions that as we get older, we can't, like, we get narrower and narrower and narrower. So maybe kids are just better than us.
I do see that every day at school, at least in art class, because I remember teaching the kindergartners how to, you know, teaching them art, and I use that loosely, but you give them a piece of paper and a crayon, and you're like, dude, draw me a picture. And they will draw you, like, I could get 20,000 different drawings from 20,000 different kids, and they will have no problem cranking you out some kind of drawing of something. It might not look exactly like they think it does, but they're more than willing to participate, and they'll tell you all about it. But you give a crayon, a piece of paper to a 6th grader, and they look at you like you have 2 heads, and then they tell you that they can't draw, or they don't know what they're doing, or they don't know what to do. Because when you're like, oh, you can draw anything, and they'll just sit there for 45 minutes not sure what to do.
Yeah, and then if you did that with a group of adults, the adults will be like, well, what exactly are you looking for? What are you grading me on exactly? What are the rules? What's the confines? What's the box I have to be thinking in? Can I get an example drawn so I could do it? Should I be tracing what you're doing right now? Like, because
or my favorite one recently, because my middle schoolers are working on making masks. They have to make masks for some kind of ritual or celebration, a holiday that they make up. So they can make up any holiday they want. So a lot of them are like, well, can I make my mask look like this? I'm like, it's your holiday. You can make it whatever you want. Oh, okay. And that same kid 20 minutes later, well, what if I want to make it look like this? Is this okay? I'm like, it's your holiday. I don't care what it looks like. It just has to be a mask and then you have to come up with some kind of excuse as to why it looks that way. And they will still ask me repeatedly, well, what can I do it this way? I'm like, I don't. If you can do it, if you can imagine it and you can make it, you can do it. Whatever you want to do. But
Yeah,
it
and
just,
part of that, like I've read, and by read I mean watched YouTube videos where people who sound smarter than me, so I just accept what they're saying. Read that some of that has to do with just the way we educate people in general. We like even to this day, our education system is sit down, I will tell you the facts, and then at a later date to be determined, you will regurgitate those facts to me. And that's how we educate. And it's a terrible way to educate people because it limits our minds and our creativity. And people just we just lose something. I mean, and some of it might also just be that as we get older, we get less creative.
like you point out with Paperclip. I think I've
Yeah.
heard that one before.
Yeah. It was probably from the same YouTube video. I'm quoting everything I saw. But it was really well made YouTube video, so it convinced me that it's the right thing. So that's all you really need. It's like a clever YouTube video with some flashy graphics, and I will just believe what you say because it sounds like something smart people would say.
Something that smart people would say, and it's on the internet, so therefore doubly true.
Yeah, because as I've said, I'm an adult. I'm no longer creative. So you just fill me with whatever knowledge that you think is inappropriate, and I will regurgitate it at any given moment, like right now.
And just point you in the right direction.
Yeah.
I feel like that says a lot about our society, and it's kind of disturbing.
Speaking of things that are disturbing, so last month, approximately 3 or 4 days ago, I finished writing a 50,000-word novel. Yay for me!
How did it turn out? How did it go?
Pretty well. I think I'm really happy with it. It's going through proofreading stages, and I'll probably do some revision. I don't know. I think I might actually release this. Like I wrote the other one a couple of years ago, and it's never seen the light of day. But this one I might actually just throw up on one of those ebook sites for like $2, $3, and then see what happens with it. You know, I don't expect to make a living or any money really off of it, but I think it'd be an interesting thing because I kind of like how it came out.
What makes you think it's that good?
Well, because it's not a book about me in a situation where I'm playing, where I just inserted myself. It's, as I said when we talked about this, I think last week or the previous week. It's and I felt like I started out not knowing what I was doing and what I was writing, but I kept I'd get to a point and what can I do? Oh, well, I introduced this other thing at the beginning of the thing, so if I have it tie in here, then that seems like that was all planned. So I could, and there's a bunch of stuff like that happens. Then I'm just I kept accidentally finding tying things in. So things that I wrote just randomly because I thought they sounded cool at the time seems like I'm seeding ideas or foretelling future events or stuff like that. Because there's, as I said before, there's different characters and it's different point of views, and sometimes they're in different locations. And I'll write I'll write a bunch of stuff for a character, and then I'll start writing for another character, and then I'll hit a character. There was this point where I was writing this character, and he was researching something, and I was like, I already wrote a chapter where this other character where they're not together yet was researching something. So if those chapters come right after one another, then that kind of seems like they're kind of following the same trajectory at some point. So I could give me some of that. So I think it plays. I haven't read it, and it's besides the writing of it and rereading sentences and hopefully not spelling mistakes, but apparently there's still some. I do this thing. I don't know why I do it, but I'll be I'll type then not sure what was supposed to come after it, think of it, and be like oh, okay, and then I'll type the again, so I got a lot of double thes in there. So, but yeah, I'm interested to see how it turns out. I'm probably going to work on it a little bit more, maybe do some revisions, get a few people to read it,
I heard of this thing called rubber ducky debugging. It's a term used by people that do coding who they will take something, and after they write out the code, they will then read it backwards to themselves or to an actual rubber ducky that's sitting there, like rather than reading it to somebody else. They read it to the rubber ducky out loud. But as they read it, because they're reading backwards, the sentence structure or the structure of the code no longer makes sense because you're not in that frame of mind that you were just talking about, where you're like, oh, I know it goes there, and your brain's just like, okay, move along. At this point, your brain goes, oh, this is spelled wrong, or that you're missing something because something doesn't make sense when I'm reading it backwards.
I do something similar to that for sketches because I use Final Draft to write my sketches, and it has speech control. So because I'm dyslexic and terrible at spelling, I will write and finish it, and then I will listen through it with speech control while I read along, hearing for anything that sounds off. And it's a good way for me to proofread those. But a novel is significantly longer and harder to sit through the computer-aided voices of. But yeah, the reason why I bring this up, not to pat myself on the back, but apparently I read about this.
On the show. Whoa.
Yeah. Whoa. Apparently there's besides the National Novel Writing Month, there's also the National Novel Generation Month, which is basically this coder decided that he would do his own NaNoWriMo, but he would create an algorithm to write a 50,000-word novel in a month. So basically, the way he explains it is he came up with characters, and in this algorithm, has his characters put them in a place like a building, and then has it go. So they will just walk around, and then when two characters end up in the same room, they will have a conversation based off of and he pulls from Twitter and stuff. So they have, I don't know how the personalities work, but basically, the two characters will have personalities. Someone will bring up something, and then they will have a back and forth, and that's basically to generate stuff. And people have been using this, trying to perfect it and using it for making comics and stuff like that. There's this whole thing of people building their own novels from this. So fuck it, I spent a month writing a book that might be kind of good, maybe, and some fucking robot is just going to do it better than me, probably.
Well, I mean, I just want to go out and say that this doesn't surprise me that somebody's done that, because I had already done that in a way back in 8th grade when I had to write a report on the Oregon Trail. I asked the teacher if I could, instead of writing a report, if I could write a story, write a small 10-page story or whatever it was. But I went online. No, this is way back in the day. So I went on my Mac back then and went on Oregon Trail, and I played Oregon Trail, and then whatever happened in Oregon Trail was how I wrote the story. So really, I didn't have to do any of the thinking. I just let the characters and the random simulation say, "Oh, you got a snake bite. Oh, my story, dude, got a snake bite."
I could have written my novel like that, because my novel is a story about 4 fantasy protagonists coming together and going on it's basically a Dungeons and Dragons campaign. There's a half-elf. They don't have classes really. There's a half-elf named Talon, named after my current Dungeons and Dragons character. A half-orc named. No, I don't know. She doesn't really have a class. She's got a sword. I don't know. She doesn't really have a class. Then there's a half-orc named Karathos, which was the barbarian I was gonna roll until I rolled my bard. I invented this female dwarf cleric, who's the only one that really has a role, like a traditional D&D role. And then there's this human who's an alchemist. So that's not really a character class, but that's kind of he's just kind of this nerdy guy who's an alchemist. And they come together and go on an adventure and stuff. So that's that. It is, I mean, it's not like I'm hiding it. Like there's a part where the half-orc and the half-elf come across a tribe of frog people. There's references to like gnolls and gnomes and it opens with a goblin. Like it's clear where it's got its. I didn't do it. Yeah, because I know a lot of people who are heavy into D&D and consider themselves writers build like a really interesting world that's not quite D&D or D&D, but it's my world, but it's actually shaped like a donut, and everybody talks backward or whatever. And I was like, who cares? I don't need to develop a giant world or anything. I mean, maybe it is cool to do that, and I like that kind of stuff, but I didn't feel like I was like, I'm just gonna do some really interesting characters, like 4 or 5 characters that I think are interesting, and see what happens to them in this adventure.
Now, would you say that each one of the characters is, in fact, a little bit of some kind of part of your personality?
I mean, yeah, they all have things. Like, definitely the alchemist is probably the most like me, though not really, because he's kind of, his whole journey is that he is he's been at this sort of college for significant amount of his life, and he realized he has no real life experience. Like he has a lot of book learning, but no street smarts. So that's why he's off in the world. So I see that part of like just this kind of shut-in guy who doesn't understand how the world works. There's me in that, but also the other characters as well. So they're all like they all have a little bit of me, I think.
So it's basically a story about how you're schizophrenic.
Yeah, I mean they're all equal personality. Like there's one about like I'm a shut-in who doesn't understand the world. I feel like my God has abandoned me. I was kidnapped by raiders when I was 16, and also I murder people professionally. So yeah, I guess yeah, it's all me. It's really just for me.
Maybe it's that you want to murder people professionally, but
yeah, that I wish I could be this much of just a flippant murderer of people for money.
But unfortunately, our society dictates they frown upon that kind of.
Obama.
So this is your way of living out those things. Or maybe you can just go on social media and post about how there's one way to love somebody, but a million ways to kill them.
It's true. But if you're also looking for ways to kill people, you can talk about my newest obsession. I was going to plug this last week, but I thought it would be more fun to talk about it just on the show. There's this, I guess it's also a Facebook game, but it's not entirely a Facebook game. But you can access it through Facebook or through their website, and soon Steam, I think in a week or two. But there's this game called Town of Salem by Blank Space Games or something like that. And it's basically, if you ever played the party game Mafia or Werewolf, that's what it is. It is Mafia, but it's the same as Werewolf if you ever played that, where you are a town of, basically it's like Salem, everyone's pilgrim hats and stuff like that. It's all cartoony, but everybody's in this town, everyone's got a role, and some of you are bad guys. There's a couple of you are in the Mafia, and one of you is a serial killer. And basically at night, the Mafia will kill somebody. And in the morning, you have to figure out who's the bad guys and try and lynch them, and see if you can't get, like, everyone's got roles. Like, there's like an investigator who can figure out.
It's a witch hunt, is what you're telling me.
Yeah,
Witch hunt takes place in Salem.
Yeah, and it's like you got like the doctor who can heal somebody, but only so if they're about to be attacked, you can keep them alive, and you got like But the Mafia can like frame people, so you'll be like, I investigated this guy and it says he's bad, so everyone hang him. And there's like, yeah, I heard that too. And the medium can talk to dead players at night, and so it's fun. It's Mafia or Werewolf or any of that stuff. But I've been playing it a lot. I don't know why. Like, I got Titanfall and I love Titanfall, but for some reason I was sitting at my computer and I go, I'll play Town of Salem, not Titanfall. I'll play this weird Facebook game where I'm a cartoon pilgrim trying to murder my friends and loved ones.
So real life.
Yeah.
Like Second Life for you, is it?
Yeah. So
I'm seeing this trend with you in liking to murder your friends or murder people. I'm
usually not the murderer. Like I've been the bad guy a couple of times, but usually I'm the Godfather who doesn't actually murder people. He just orders the other guy to murder people. So, but usually I'm a townie because you're more likely to be a townie. One time I was an executioner, which is a fun role because you're a neutral character, but you have one specific person in the town you try and convince the town to lynch. So that's a fun role. But yeah, it's a fun role. Sometimes it does feel like it's stacked against you if people are idiots or they
I'm
just
not
randomly start.
saying that I'm taking sides, but if I had to guess, I would say, it's that guy.
It's just funny because it's all done through text. There's no voice or anything like there's just a chat room and at certain time like at night nobody can talk to each other unless the mafia can talk to the mafia or the dead can all talk to each other. But it's fun, especially like when someone just like in all caps they're like, I know so and so's the bad guy. Everyone and it's like he just keeps screaming it. I was like, I kind of believe this guy, but fuck him, he just won't stop typing in all caps. Fucking hang this dickwad. It's probably we're gonna lose if I vote for him, but fuck it, he just fucking won't stop yelling. So that's my newest obsession right now.
Those are definitely the ones to lynch, the loudest people.
I know. So and then you don't want to worry because what if he's a jester? Because the jester wants to be lynched. Because if you lynch a jester, then he gets to kill somebody at night who voted to kill him. So it's
Which
fun.
I assume throws people off even more.
Yeah, because you're like, wait, what if he's what if he's just a really good jester? I don't want him to fucking kill me tonight, So yeah, so it's fun. It helps like. It's kind of hard at first when you don't understand all the roles, and you get in there and people know what everything does. They're like, oh, this can't be something like So it's interesting, but it's kind of. Have you ever had one of these kind of things where you're like, I don't know why I'm into this?
Yeah, I would say that I've had a few games where it's like what, but I agree that there's something about the addictive nature of the game that you kind of just get into, and even though others might view it as kind of weird or stupid, you're just like, you know what? I enjoy it, and that's all that matters. But
I blame Kyle because we play a lot of these kinds of games because we play One Night Ultimate Werewolf, which is just basically this game, but only just one night, no deaths, no going back to sleep and waking up the next day, and more people are dead. And we were sitting around one day, and he's like, we should play a game. We should play Counter-Strike or this. And I was like, what's this? So a couple of us played. And since then, I've just been playing by myself. Like, they haven't seemed at all interested in jumping back in. But I'm like, I got to keep playing. And it's free to play. But you, like, unlock coins, or you can buy coins to, like, get, like, different characters to play as, or different houses. All of it cosmetic. Like when you're hung, there's a death animation where like your character gets hung, but you can like buy different death animations. One where like you're burned at the stake, or like lightning comes and strikes you.
So at least you get to choose how you die.
Yeah. So it's interesting. It's kind of a Facebook game, but it's coming to Steam, I think, like the 15th or something like that. But yeah, that's where I just wasted so much time. I started playing it before the show, and I was killed off immediately in the first night, and I was like, oh, good, because I don't have time to sit through this whole game.
So it's see, the thing I find out with some of those games, some of the ones that aren't nearly, they just have. I'm like, oh, people will be like, oh, it's so cool, you should try it. And then kind of like what you were saying with Kyle and them, it's like, okay, I'm willing to bite. It sounds interesting. And then I go and play, and then everyone I was playing with stops playing all of a sudden. And I'm like, oh, okay, thanks. Or it really irks me more when it's the ones like on Steam where you have to buy the game. It's like, oh, we're playing this first-person shooter that takes place in the Wild West. You should play with us. Like, yeah, they're like, you should really come and do it. I'm like, okay. And they're like, okay, we're done playing forever.
Dude, Lead and Gold, $5 on
That's
Steam. We're gonna get, yeah. I've had that game for like 6 years. I played it once. I
played a few more times than that, and I like Lead and Gold, but
it was okay. I got it because it was on sale like way back when, and then nobody's played it since then that I know. So it's just like, okay. That's why I bought Titanfall, not because like if I tried to convince everyone. I was like, it's $5 right now, you should get it. And even without them, it's still a good game, and it's just like.
And therein lies the reason why I took so long to get World of Warcraft, because people are like, oh, it's such a good game, you should try it. I'm like, okay, yeah, cool. And they're like,
yeah,
no, really, it's a good game. I was like, meh. And then like, no, you should try it. And then finally I was like, okay.
It was 6 months into World of Warcraft's after World of Warcraft's launch, and I was like, I'm never gonna buy one of these pay a month. That seemed like such a scam to me, and it wasn't. I got like a $60 gift card, so I was like, fuck it, I'll buy it off Amazon, and you get a free month, and then I'll just never play again. And that was 10 years ago.
Well, and I think one of my friends is like, hey, you can. My brother doesn't want it. If you want to take it, or my cousin, you can have his account. So I was like, yeah, sure, okay, so I'll try it. And I liked it. I was like, crap. So like, yeah, you can buy it for cheaper. I was like, awesome. And then the only thing was it was in his name. So for a really long time, I had to try to like, whenever I had to call Blizz, my account was like Toker420.
No, God.
Like, what's your account name? I tell him, I'm like, God, I feel like an idiot.
Yeah.
But now, ever since then they did the whole combination thing where you could do it like one combination.
I'm sorry,
of all the accounts that you had.
Sorry, was that Smokes every day? No, it's every day. Every day. No V.
But not anymore. I'm thank God for them allowing to combine your BattleNet account so I can get everything in my name.
Yeah, it's always fun. Anyways. Yeah, it's been a show. We've been here an hour already. Fuck it. Let's end the show. And stop talking about this horseshit like Star Wars and Thanksgiving and start plugging each other.
I mean, we didn't do our 40-minute pre-show. We could keep going for another 40 minutes.
Yeah, but it's chili dog night. So my plug for this week, I was going to throw this up on the website like I normally do, but then Joe had to throw his bullshit up, and I didn't want to kick it off today. But my sketch team, Hate Mail, just released a new sketch called Crossword Puzzle Bros. You can go to either facebook.com/hate mail show or I don't know how you find it on Funny or Die. That's where you find it. It's also up on our YouTube, but just facebook.com/hate mail show if you want to check that out. Or I imagine you could just, by the time you can hear this podcast, if you Google Crossword Puzzle Bros, or Bras, BRAHS, it'll probably be like the first thing that shows up. I can't guarantee that, but probably, I'm going to do it right now. I'm going to search it. Yeah, first fucking thing up there at the top. It's the YouTube link, unfortunately, but yeah, it's still good. So check that out. I was really proud of it. I think I did the editing on it. I helped shoot it, but it turned out really good. I think you guys will find it hilarious, like I did.
I got nothing to plug. I usually just plug my Instagram, but I'm even too lazy. I do that every week, so I got no plugs this week.
All right. So.
Oh no, I lied. I do have a plug.
No, too late. You already said. No, you already said it.
Since we don't have the social justice person that we were referring to earlier, but we do have the pour your heart out type thing person here. I will try to figure out a way to put it someplace, maybe on my Twitter or the Just Cool Enough Twitter. But if I know it's that time of the year where you probably don't have a whole lot of money to be throwing around to people, but other than your relatives. But there's a woman in North Carolina who my mom tutors. She is over the age of 60. She does not have her high school diploma, but she was working towards getting her GED. And in doing so, since she never got a high school diploma, she also has been working her entire life at odds and ends. So she also doesn't really have a job that has provided her with the ability to get retirement funds. So this woman's car has gotten to the point where it's pretty much just a hunk of junk that doesn't actually move. So my mom has gone out and started a GoFundMe to raise $3,000 for this woman to help buy her just a cheapy little car that will get her from point A to point B because she doesn't leave town. So I will put this up on our Twitter feed. If you can pass it along, awesome. If you don't have any money, if you have $1 or $10 or whatever, awesome. We're trying to reach our $3,000 goal, and so far in GoFundMe, I think we have about 300. So we still have a ways to go, and there is no deadline on this. We're really just trying to go till we can hopefully get all the money raised for her. So, and this woman's name, I believe, is Rebecca. So if you have a chance, go check it out on Twitter.
Cool. You can also check us out on Twitter. Or the Twitter for us is JCE Show. You can also email us at theshow@justcoolenough.com. Maybe get your email read out on air. But anyways, until next week, thank you guys so much for tuning in. You can find me on Twitter at Duncor, DUNCOR.
You can find me at Railvis, RALVIS, on Twitter.
And you can probably find Joe in I don't know,
No, it
fucking
isn't that
Ireland.
one. Yeah.
Yeah. He's in Ireland or some shit right now, or he's over the Pacific Ocean or the Atlantic Ocean or one of the specific oceans. I don't remember. But until next week, have a wonderful rest of your week, and we will see you again. There's no
You can
holidays.
always email us. Did we say that? Did you say
Yeah,
that?
I
Oh, you did?
did.
Because I wasn't listening. Because I was looking in our inbox. It's empty.
Yeah, I opened our inbox as I said that. But anyway, thank you guys for listening. See you guys next week.